Everyone's talking about why 2025 is the perfect time to start a business, and I'm here to tell you the opposite, at least at first, because the truth is you've been lied to about what it takes to really be successful right now.
And if you're thinking about starting something, whether it's a side hustle or a full-time thing, you're gonna wanna hear all the reasons why you shouldn't and why they might actually prove why this is a great time to begin. It feels like we're about to enter World War III. The economy looks like it's crap. It feels like we're in a recession every time you turn the TV on. You may feel like it's too late for you to start a business, and we're here to tell you why we believe that that's not true. Tilmon, we have a client who is in her later years. People were telling her she's too old. Her friends didn't understand why she would decide to start over in the latter part of her life when she should be retired and off into the sunset. And she's like, why would I do that? I want to start something new and I want to build a brand and I want to be an author. I have all of these aspirations that I still have, and people just could not understand this vision that she had for her business. And what we have witnessed over the course of the last several months as our client is the community that she's been able to build, the women that she's inspiring, the stories that are being told. You know, we are essentially have control of her entire brand, or helping her navigate her entire brand, and getting to see the emails, the DMs, the comments that are coming in for her. It's like, it's never too late. And even for her, people were telling her, why would you spend money on that? Why wouldn't you save that for other things that she could be doing and traveling the world? But she decided now was the best time for her. So, and for somebody who's like, it's too late for me, or I don't have the money to start, where the heck do we go from here? What do we tell them that they should be doing?
I mean, you're probably telling yourself the same thing that a lot of other people are saying to themselves too. You're not unique in the sense of it's too late for me, or the market is too oversaturated, or I can't do this, and being fearful. Watching the climb that you were just speaking about and how things have transpired over the last several months, and then seeing how when you just have the belief in something that you should do something and you just do it, and regardless of what other people are going to tell you that it's too late or you're too old or too whatever, there's always going to be some haters. There's always going to be some people who don't believe, just because they're trying to place their fear on you. And as it relates to starting a business, that's probably one of the scariest places for you to get started with, when you talk about your journey as an entrepreneur or your journey as a business owner, because it's not just you're starting a new workout routine. But one of the things I say an incredible amount is, as you grow, your business grows, because you can't grow without your business growing, or your business can't grow without you growing. So if you're thinking to yourself all these negative things, what happens if you actually start? What happens if you just give yourself the opportunity to figure it out? And so I think so many times, just with anything in life, you get better by getting the reps. We fear failure for some reason, and I think naturally we want to protect ourselves oftentimes when we're thinking about starting new things. And because of that, we give ourselves all the reasons why it won't work. And I know this video we're saying why you shouldn't start a business from the frame of just what people are telling you,
Right.
and what the economy says. You're looking around at the economy right now, and you're saying we're in a recession, and you're not sure what's happening with crypto. You're not sure what's happening with the stock market. But I'm here to tell you now, there's always been something wrong.
Always.
There's always a reason that you can give yourself why you shouldn't start doing something, especially when it comes to being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, because now you're putting yourself in a position where you're in control of it all.
Right.
We've recently talked about how nobody's paying for your healthcare, and it can be inconsistent if you haven't developed a system for yourself to create some level of consistency. You're not positioning yourself by having the conversations. So yeah, you can be fearful all you want to, but there's really no better time to start right now. And I know we'll talk a lot about that, but the reality is you will always give yourself a reason not to start something. But you can start slow. You don't have to start with everything. You don't have to start $100 million company today.
Right.
You can start $100 company today and then build from there. But the beauty of watching other people do this, again, getting back to the client that you just spoke of, the last several months, she has been patient with herself as she grows, as she learns, and we're watching her get so excited about being able to share this part of her journey and the conversations that she's now having and the people that are reaching out to her, whether it's via email, whether it's via DM, and she's like, oh my God, this is a ton. And like even the comments, and it's all over the world, from Germany to LA to Switzerland, and we're seeing all of these things happen in real time. And I mean, I couldn't be happier for her.
Same.
But it's also one of those things where it's just a reminder that sometimes we can become impatient with ourselves, and you find yourself starting this new thing over and over and over again, and you really don't give yourself an opportunity to succeed. And one of the stories we were going to talk about today is like how traditional business advice says you need 6 to 12 months of just income and just all these other resources that you need. But there's a couple of moms, at least one of us is a mom. I don't know about the other one, but we'll talk about it. So Danielle Tate, there's this lady in Nashville. We were reading a story before we got started with this conversation. This lady started with $1,000. And I know we recently did a video about you can start with zero. She started with $1,000. She started with $1,000 and started sharing stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
It started with a group of her friends, and then that expanded into like other people. And she looked around. She's a mom. She saw a need that other moms also needed. She, on Facebook Marketplace, started selling $1,000. She is now making $275,000 a month.
Yeah.
She said she had no business background, no formal training, which proves you can start with minimal capital and you can start immediately. What the audience probably knows, or if anybody's followed you, they should know, you're a mom. So in hearing that, how excited does that make you for not only yourself, but for other entrepreneurs?
To say that I am so proud of mompreneurs is, it isn't sufficient enough, because being an entrepreneur is hard enough alone. But now you are an entrepreneur while you're also trying to balance, which I don't believe exists, that there's no such thing as a balancing your home life and your work life. I think there's work-life integration. I think you learn how to navigate it, but you're going to be better in one season than you are over the other. And the truth is, and I've said this in other episodes, of like when I'm a great mom, I don't feel like the best CEO. I don't feel like the greatest founder. But when I'm a great founder and I have a great week or a great month, or we have a great like sales, whatever it is, month, right? I don't feel like I'm the best mother I could be because my attention in that particular season was in our business. And so when I see moms who find something, a problem, and they solve it well, and as agonizing as the journey is and as difficult as it is while you're trying to mother and you're trying to give yourself grace and you're trying to provide for your family, it's a very difficult journey. It's heartbreaking at times, but it's also exhilarating. And to watch another mom or other moms do it it's like, I take such pride in, even though I don't know these women, I take incredible pride in watching other women create successful businesses that not just scale, but eventually get acquired or IPO. Is something that I love to watch, just because I understand how difficult the journey is. And it's hard to explain. Like right now we're shooting and it is nearly 11 o'clock at night, after I've put my kid to bed, after we've done dinner and bedtime and all the nines. But that's the part of the journey that people don't see, or the early morning, waking up early in the morning at 5 a.m. and taking, the boys to school, or like in the grief journey that I'm in now. Like, it's a very difficult journey, but you get it done because you have to. But going back to the topic at hand, if you are a mom and you think that entrepreneurship is not for you, please let myself and Danielle Tate and Sara Blakely and other Emma Greed, some extraordinary women who are mothers, let us inspire you to start today. Whatever it is that you are struggling with, the pain point that you have, that one thing that you talk about with your girlfriends and your friends, and the problems you guys are trying to solve for each other, the idea is likely in the conversations that you're having. For her to start, we talked about this in a previous episode, where if I had to go back and start any of my companies over again, the first thing I would do was start a Facebook group. I would start an Instagram group. If you're selling to millennials or if you're selling to Gen X, create a group or a Facebook page or Instagram where you know your target audience lives. If you're selling a product to, I don't know, whatever it is, if I have a digital product and I'm selling to Gen Z, I know I'm going to TikTok. If I'm going to Alpha, I'm going to YouTube. So find the place where your audience lives or the people that look like you, talk like you, live like you, and go ask them. The greatest thing about social media is knowing you can build a community of people and get immediate feedback for free. It doesn't cost you anything to start a Facebook group. It doesn't cost you anything to start a community that YouTube now has. It doesn't cost you anything to start a channel where you have a direct one-to-one conversation with your potential customer or who your consumer is going to be. If you know that those people need it and you can do the polls and you can have these direct one-to-one conversations, it also allows you to pre-sale. So you don't need any money in order to have the product, which we've also talked about in a previous episode of like, we've done $6,000 in sales, we've done $20,000 in sales, we've done $50,000 in sales on a product that I didn't physically have yet, or we didn't have yet. So it can be done. Tillman, did I just give away too much?
Hey, I'm just listening. I'm just listening.
If you bought those, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, hopefully, if you bought those, you feel that you got a return that was greater than what you spent.
Yeah.
And I think with everything, if you can deliver something, going out and validating that idea, which again we've talked about before, and I hate to be repetitive in saying that or redundant in this sense, in saying that you could, if you go validate the idea, you spend time seeing what the market wants based on the problem that you feel that you see. You go out there and talk to some people. They can tell you whether or not this is going to be what works for them, or hey, make some tweaks to this. That's what she was doing in the Facebook group.
Yep.
She was going and talking to people and saying, oh, okay, well, give me some ideas about what you would want. Daniel Priestley talks about this a lot with the Score app. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, you can go ask people these questions. Hey, which ice cream flavor would you like? Mm-hmm. Oh, what do you think about octopus cherry? They're like, oh, no, that's disgusting. I just made that up. But whatever it is, like you could go out to the market, create an opportunity for people to be involved, which is also another way to build your community, and give them what they want. People will pay for it. People we know love your cookies, for example.
Yep.
And
now I sell cookies.
Yeah.
As a side hobby.
The Cookie Monster over here. The Cookie Monster. Competing with, what's that cookie place?
Crumble.
Crumble.
Mine are better, I'm just saying.
I've never had Crumble in my life. But I'm
never. I'm gonna be quiet. You're not. I was gonna say something, but it's not nice. One of the co-founders follows me, so I'm gonna be quiet.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Moving on to the next thing. So, one of the things you hear a lot is every niche seems to be filled, and there's no room for new players. We recently talked about OpenAI over the last 5 years and what has happened over the last 5 years. So, if you're telling yourself that every niche is filled and there's no opportunity for you, there's so many examples of that not being true. I'm going to give you another one right now. I'm going to screw this lady's name up, so let me apologize in advance. But she was recently on national news. I want to say it was ABC. Shubhangani Prakash. She offered a really unique solution based on an opportunity she found in chicken feather waste.
Crazy.
Again, chicken feather waste. It's something that she saw that nobody was addressing. She created biodegradable plastic alternatives from discarded materials and got $1 million in funding for solving an overlooked problem. What she talked about was there are problems everywhere waiting to be solved. So if you're thinking, if you have the remote feeling that you want to start a business in 2025 or in 2026, you still want to put it off like some people do with the gym. They say I'm going to start on Monday and they never get started. But if you have that feeling and you were, I mean, candidly, even for myself, thinking to yourself, okay, you know, I'm going to get started later on, just sprinkle a little bit. You don't have to start with everything today. You could build slowly. But even if you build slowly, you're building. There's a lot of people who are going to hear this and say to themselves, I'm going to get started. Hopefully a lot of people hear this anyway. But there are people who are going to hear this and tell themselves they're going to get started. And they might actually get started, but they won't give themselves the space to continue.
Yeah.
Create milestones for yourself. In this week, I'm going to accomplish this. And this month, I'm going to accomplish that. Don't wait until you have a New Year's resolution and then about January 17th or Martin Luther King Day,
Yep.
you're already done. We're not doing that anymore. We're actually going to build. And that's why we're creating this space, to help you build. You may not ever purchase anything from myself or Sara or from Mayvrix. You may not ever join the Build Different newsletter, which I think you should join, because we offer business insights. We talk about storytelling. We talk about sales, a variety of different things that help people grow their businesses. You may not ever get involved with any of that. But if you're listening to this, the one thing that I want you to do for yourself is, if you have a business idea, or even if you just simply want to transform yourself, just get started.
If you're watching this and thinking, I need more of this in my life, that's why we created the Built Different newsletter, a weekly playbook that breaks all the rules and helps you win without waiting for permission, credentials, or capital. Whether you're just starting or restarting, this free newsletter gives you 2025 proof frameworks, case studies, and step-by-step tools. Head to byobdifferent.com or hit the link in the description below.
I know I said a lot just now. We talked about the market being oversaturated. We talked about that before. But so many people tell themselves they need special skills or special education to get started. Why don't you talk a little bit about why that is also not true?
Is it okay if I take it back for 1 second? Just because I had a thought. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm not going to start because it's oversaturated, how many people do you think are having the exact same thought, so none of you get started? Mm-hmm. So the oversaturation that you believe you see is based on the content that you are consuming. So the algorithm is feeding you more, making you believe that it's oversaturated.
With everything.
With everything. When the truth is, nobody's getting started. Most people aren't implementing, even if they do get started. Even when it comes to podcasting, most people quit before they get to episode 3. Most people quit. To be in the top 1% of podcasters, you just have to get to episode 20.
Also, let us know if you want us to make something about how to start a podcast.
Yeah, let us know.
Because we might have a few under our belt. So if you need to create something to show you how to start a podcast, just let us know if you need that too.
Yes, I agree. So 1, if you think it's oversaturated, please believe that everyone else, for the most part, is thinking the same thing. Number 2, the idea or concept that you would have and the way that you would solve it doesn't require you to reinvent the wheel. And I'm going to give you an example. So I think her name is Keaton. She's the founder of Stacker. Imagine going up against Ziploc. Imagine going up against all the large enterprises, right, that are selling sandwich bags. The name brand stuff, the great value stuff, all of it. We're talking about billion-dollar brands. And she decided that in 2016 that she was really concerned as a mom that she was using so much of Ziploc bags because you just throw them in the bag and they're bad for the environment. So she'd already built a successful brand with like silicone bibs and reusable like mats for kids. And so for her, the idea was, what if I could do that and make sandwich bags that were silicone? Now, are they $11 a piece? Yeah, they're expensive as hell.
Jesus, this costs more than a sandwich.
Right.
So much so that I don't even know how to speak English right now. Jesus.
So, but imagine her deciding in 2016, I'm not going to go up against the giants because the market is oversaturated or they have such a hold on the market that there's no space for me.
I mean, she's a giant charging $11 for bread.
But it worked, even though there was a Shark Tank debacle with Mark Cuban and that fell through. But from 2016 to 2019, by 2019, she was able to sell it to Johnson & Johnson. Oh. So it took her 3 years to have it be acquired in a space. Also, they own Ziploc.
Like, I mean, of course, that's usually how it happens.
But there's space.
You're acquired by the company that you're competing with oftentimes.
Yes. But there's space for you. You don't have to reinvent it. You know, I think about even with Mayvrix, and imagine if we didn't start our media company 2 years ago. Imagine if I decided 6 years ago that I wasn't going to start Sara Lovestyle because the market was oversaturated.
I wouldn't even know you.
No. We wouldn't have a business and 2 podcasts and you know, it's, you know, I also run into marketers or like people who want to start agencies who are really effing good at what they do, but they won't start because it's oversaturated. But the truth is there are billions of people on the planet. I can't sell to everyone.
And you can always make an excuse. I started the podcast in the backyard. I was like, hey, I'm
You did.
Make it do what it do, baby. I'm gonna make it do what it do.
You did. Not even a phone, y'all. Let me tell you how this man started his podcast. It was his laptop, a Zoom, and his phone. That was it.
And some notes.
What is that? The first 10 episodes, 12 episodes?
10 episodes. Man, I hit my friends up. Hey, man, I'm starting this right here. Need a couple people to talk to.
Yep.
Would you be opposed to hopping on with me and having a conversation? And they're like,
sure.
Yeah, man, we believe in you. We trust you. I don't know if all of that is true, but hey, they did it anyway. And I'm happy that they did because it gave me an opportunity to really do something. And we were talking about it earlier, so I'll bring it up now. I was going through so much in 2023 that I went back to school.
You did.
And I was going to pursue my MBA at Pepperdine. Shout out to Pepperdine. And I'm going down this path. And the job that I had, even at that time, I was like, man, I'm pursuing this MBA, but I'm getting my MBA by actually doing it. Mm-hmm. So I put it this way. Action beats formal education every time.
Every time.
Because through action, you actually get educated. Mm-hmm. So if you're telling yourself you need to go pursue more school or you don't have enough expert experience and you need more training, more formal training, all of that is a lie to tell yourself so you don't do what's necessary to take action. You're telling yourself you need more of this and more of that because you're just fearful of doing.
Yeah.
But if you actually give yourself the opportunity, the space to learn, to grow by doing, by getting the reps, I'm telling you, go in the gym, be uncomfortable. I don't care if you're on Weight Watchers right now and you go into a gym like a Gold's Gym and everybody in there is bulked up. Learn from them. You're going to learn by creating a space for yourself while the people that you're surrounded by are doing better than you.
Yep.
Theoretically anyway. They're doing better than you just based on what they have built for themselves. You've heard the saying. If you are around 4 rich people, you're probably going to be the 5th. Mm-hmm. It's something like that. I don't know if it's exactly that, but it's something like that. So, again, action beats formal education every single time. Give yourself the space to learn, to grow, to transform. Because I promise you, it can happen if you give yourself that opportunity. Yeah. Speaking of opportunities, what are some opportunities you feel like you created for yourself by simply just taking action?
Man, listen, full transparency moment. I don't have a finance degree. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a business degree. By most standards, I am not qualified to do what I do. But I am damn good at finance. I am damn good in the investment world. I have made some pretty lucrative, smart choices with angel investing and in the VC space. I don't have a marketing degree, and yet we have, 4 podcasts, a thriving business, a 7-figure brand. Those opportunities happened because I just believed in myself that much. The truth is, I think the mental part of entrepreneurship is the biggest mind effort, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I don't. Why don't you get more specific?
Are you going to bleep it out? Right. The mindset part is the hardest part of this journey. Because the truth is you have these expectations of what you think your journey is going to be like. I'm going to have 1,000 followers. I'm going to have 5,000 followers. And then I'm going to have 100,000 followers in like a month. Or I'm going to have 1 million followers in 3 months. And the truth is that's not true. That's not true. And not to say that it can't happen. But if you're seeking virality or followers for the sake of vanity metrics and not from an entrepreneurship or a monetization standpoint, then it doesn't really matter. It's kind of useless to have that kind of attention and not know what to do with it.
Right.
I always say, like, to have influence and not be influential is a waste. So understanding what you're influencing for and what you're making money for is important. And when I started in 2014 technically, but in 2019 is when I went full time. When I started in 2019, I gave myself a 2-year deadline with a business plan to adapt and evolve that left me space to be creative and not be a stickler about where the direction of the brand was going. And I'm so glad I did that because it started as influence. Then I realized I was influential, which then leads to partnerships, brand deals, my own business. Agency Lux was the first agency that we had with Taylor. Shout out to Taylor. So we had a very successful six-figure brand. Then the pandemic happened, and the timing was important because by the time the pandemic happened, I knew how to shoot at home. I knew how to light myself, camera, the whole 9 yards. I was my own production house and my own media company. So when I realized that I was a media company, it changed how I moved. Now I'm not moving like I'm just making content for the internet. I am moving like a home studio. I am moving like a Hollywood studio from the comforts of my own home, which also allows me to charge more, which allowed me to become more powerful in my voice and more authentic in who I wanted to be and how I showed up in the world. Then that leads me to maybe a couple months after that to my first investment, an equity deal. That equity deal happened because I gave myself the opportunity to fail by just trying to be an influencer.
Right.
By giving myself that opportunity, my brand it gave me leverage from an equity standpoint.
Right.
So then that changed the game for my business in terms of like asking for equity. Oh, bless you.
It didn't come out yet.
In terms of like equity,
you.
you're welcome. In terms of equity deals, and now the way that I could charge now was no longer just money. Now I could ask for money and equity in their companies. Then what I learned was when they exit, I make a boatload of money in the process. Then it was, okay, I'm doing it for other people. Why wouldn't I do it for myself? And right at that time is when you and I aligned. It was, how do we do this for ourselves? We can take sales commissions from everyone else, or we can build it for ourselves and keep the sales commissions in-house, which is what we have done. But those opportunities don't exist if I sat back, at least for me 6 years ago, and said, I don't have a marketing degree, I'm not qualified. I remember my biggest fear was, what if I had nothing to say that nobody cared about? But if I had done that, none of this happens and none of this exists. We don't meet. I'm a mom, so I'm not going to try. Would have been tragic. But now it's given me an opportunity to create a legacy for the boys and to continue to even say Josiah's name. That doesn't happen if I don't take the risk. But somewhere along the way too, I think it was Fawn Weaver who said, the founder of Uncle Nearest, when someone asked her if she had imposter syndrome, she was like, no, I command the spaces that I know that I'm meant to be in. And for me, that resonated. I think I was almost scared and fearful, but when I realized those things weren't true, I no longer had imposter syndrome. I belong in every effing space that I'm in. And I demand that seat with the worth and the value that I know I provide, because I know the risk I took to get here. And I also know how much I've learned. The NBA of life has taught me everything I needed to know about business and entrepreneurship.
You talk a lot about entrepreneurship, talk a lot about creators, talk a lot about founders. But if you're in a space right now and you're trying to figure out if your business idea might work, there's videos that I would post on Facebook and it could get 8 views and it could get 90 views and it could get 4,000 views. Mm-hmm. But you're constantly getting feedback and people are constantly telling you in some capacity or another that this thing is actually working. What we hear a lot, just even with the algorithm, the algorithm is punishing me. While some of that may be true.
No, your algorithm sucks.
People just don't want to see it.
And your content sucks, probably.
People just don't want to see it. I have this conversation with myself all the time. I'm like, I thought that was good. That was trash.
Nope.
And then sometimes I'll go back, like even a year later, and look at something that I said, this is why it didn't resonate. This is why people aren't understanding what I'm trying to say. Because it's not the fact that I have a marketing problem. I just have a messaging problem. People don't see themselves in what I'm saying. And because they don't see themselves as the audience, why am I watching this? I don't care that your grass is green, but if you are trying to tell me that, hey, I do this and it will help your grass be greener, grass ain't always green on the other side. Right. But if you do this, it will help your grass be greener. We're having a different conversation and you're aligning with what my interests are. So as it relates to building your brand, building your community, building your business, think about how other people benefit from what you're doing. Think about how other people can benefit from what you say and why there's value attached to it for them. There's a guy by the name of Tony Gaskins that I used to talk to years ago when I started on YouTube, because I was focused on YouTube and Twitter before it became X. Tony saw one of my videos, and I had a conversation with him about what he thought we should do next. He said, listen, don't try to put all of your effort into building on all of these platforms. Find the platform that works for you and double down on that. But beyond finding the platform that works for you, find the thing that works for you and double down on that. If you're starting today, how are you finding mentors in order to build your business?
The conversation around mentorship is so fascinating to me because one of the hardest parts is, and we talk about this, is how do you scale mentorship? But the truth is, if you are looking to be inspired and you're trying to understand AI or founders or conversations, I think like Stephen Bartlett has 7,000 videos. You can go to BYOB and there's a lot of videos. Go watch them all, binge them all. You can go to Influenced Equity and so you can almost find a mentor now that is through YouTube. And the next part is probably the part that people aren't going to like, but the truth is you have to pay for a business coach or mentor. You have to. It's the fastest way and the best way to accelerate your knowledge gap and your growth is by having the right mentor. And also you are meant to outgrow your mentors. You're meant to outgrow your business coaches. So you should have a different one at every level. I think you and I were talking about how maybe the early parts of when we met, you had your mentors and then you suddenly realized that you were the smartest person in the room, or you realized that you had the most experience in that room and there was nothing else that anybody now could teach you. I think the hardest part about that is you get the mentors, you're learning, you figure out the knowledge gap, then it's time to go to the next level. And then it's time to figure out what information you need in order to get successful next, right? And that's a difficult thing to fathom. I remember the first business coach I had, I paid $1,500 a month. And was it painful? Yeah. But was I able to accelerate in 6 months what would have taken me 3 years? Yeah. The price was worth it. We were just talking about that recently. How much money have you spent in, and maybe this is giving the people too much information, how much money have you spent on knowledge, mentorship, coaching programs, software in the last 5 years of your career?
I mean, just in building all of this, it's well above 6 figures.
Same.
Well above 6 figures. I mean, 2023, it was probably 50 grand alone in 2023. If not more. I was paying, I mean, just like you said, my coach at that point in time was paying $1,800 a month for a coach. Invested money in systems and building that was about $21,000. Spent on a podcast that I had at the time. Also spent on formal education. So all of that, factoring into all the money. I was looking at what I spent in 2023 the other day, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Where did I even get this money?
Right.
But yeah, that's how I felt. But I think it's so important to invest in yourself. If you don't invest in anything. I remember there was a point in my life where I was looking at all of my friends and what they were doing as they were pursuing higher education. One of the reasons why at the time I didn't pursue a higher education was because I didn't want to take out any loans in order to pursue higher education. I probably would have already had my MBA. I would have probably went on to be a doctor, whatever it may be. But that just wasn't in my cards because I always knew I wanted to start my own business anyway. So I was developing the skills by actually doing the work. And unbeknownst to me, I was learning so much that was valuable to me in 2023, in 2024, in 2025, right now, as we're continuing to build what we're building right now. And through all of that, what I learned, even though I was upset with myself for not pursuing some of the things that my friends did, while they were investing in other things in terms of education, I was investing in myself. And it's not to say that they weren't investing in themselves, because they 100% were investing in themselves. But I was investing in myself in such a different way that I'm starting to see many of the fruits of all of that labor
Yeah.
and how much time I put into myself in the pursuit of building something to me that mattered, and how that has changed the game for me. Taking a step back really quick, because I don't want to go down that path. If somebody's listening to this right now, the question they're probably asking themselves is like, hey, I hear all of that, but how do I possibly come up with a viable business idea? What would you say to that person?
You know, I'm a whiteboard person. Get a whiteboard, a sheet of paper, because you need to write it down. I would think of the 10 things that people are coming to you for, or the 10 things that you feel conviction about, the things that you're struggling with in your day-to-day life. What are the 8 to 10 things or the issues that your friends are coming to you for? What's the advice they're asking you for? Is it, so my friend, for example, Marissa Allen, her husband used to play, Jeff Allen used to play in the NFL, he used to play for the Chiefs. Back then, she would make these cookies. And whenever the offensive line would come over, the cookies are coming back. So she would make these cookies, and she would just like test the batches with the guys and the athletes, and they would talk about what their favorites were. And she realized that she had a minimal viable product. Like, she had something here. She needed one MVP, and the MVP was a chocolate chip cookie. And the guy started to pay for it. And then what happened with them is they were supposed to launch April of 2020, and the pandemic happens. And so they had to decide, are we going to launch or not? Right. She's a mother, she's a wife, and suddenly there's this pandemic. And she decides, we are going to open this hell or high water. And they do. And now they have 4 locations. But it started in her kitchen with one singular problem. And that was, there wasn't anywhere to buy cookies. Crumble wasn't a thing back then. So find the thing that you're already talking about. Find the problem you're solving amongst your friends at church. Do you make fish plates? Can you sell that? Find the thing that you are struggling with. And in the day and age with AI, if you don't sit and talk to your language model and become best friends with your ChatGPT, you are wasting a great opportunity. Because you can now build 6-figure businesses as a one-man team, which you couldn't do before. You can now build a 7-figure business as a one-man team now, which you couldn't do before. There's an opportunity, if you don't know how to build an infrastructure, you don't know how to build a business plan, you don't know how to create a system.
And I'm gonna say this, you don't even need a business plan.
You don't. It's actually overrated.
Need a business plan. You don't need a business
It's
plan.
overrated.
You just need to get started. Get started. Yeah. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out, and you validate your idea by doing the work, taking action. Stop telling yourself you need a business plan. Stop telling yourself you need to wait 6 weeks. Stop telling yourself you need to wait until next week. Do something to get started right now. Because right now, what you're doing is you're giving yourself all the excuses. I'm posting my content and nobody's watching, or I'm too afraid to get in front of the camera, or nobody's gonna care about what I have to say, or my friends and family don't support me. That's probably the one that I hate the most.
Bruh.
My friends and family don't support
They're
me.
not your customers or consumers anyway.
They're not the people who are supposed to be buying your stuff anyway.
No.
If you are telling yourself you validated your idea because you shared it with your mom and your mom was in love with it, you're lying to yourself. Get out here and do some work.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there. Put your product, your service, whatever it is out there, and stop waiting for people to give you the approval to do what you want to do, to build what you want to build. Start right now. Stop looking for excuses and start building, because that's the only way you're going to build the life that you want. If you've been waiting for someone to give you permission, this is it. And if you're looking for a roadmap, that's kind of why we're doing this in the first place. You're not too late. You're not too broke. You're not too unqualified. What you are is one decision away from building something that actually works in this economy. So, like this video, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe for more unfiltered business truths every single week. And if you want to go deeper, check out this video where we talk about how you can validate your business idea before spending a single dollar.